If you like this video, please give it a like and hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell not to miss more content coming soon. Welcome back to another episode of FPL Squad Picks. It's Game Week 34, and in this video we're going to take a look at the points review from Game Week 33, some transfer options for Game Week 34, a little bit of a discussion about potential double game weeks coming up, team selection, and then we'll finish off with captaincy. So let's get started. Here are some fixture headlines from Game Week 33. It was quite a slow start to the week, but finished a bit stronger with a few more goals towards the end of the game week. Starting off, we had Arsenal versus Everton. This saw Leno back in goal for Arsenal and saw DCL back up front for Everton. Unfortunately, DCL was unable to get any returns, but Richarlison was the one who found the net, and it was ruled out for an own goal, so only managing to get an assist as it came off Leno to go in the goal. Liverpool versus Newcastle. Liverpool leading 1-0 for a very long time with an early on Mo Salah goal. Unfortunately, losing it in the last couple seconds of the stoppage time saw Wilson get a goal and then get it ruled out through VAR, to then have another goal scored a few seconds after that again, ending on 1-1. Then we had the Hammers versus Chelsea, expecting a lot of goals in this game, but unfortunately nothing for the Hammers, and Chelsea only managing the one return, with Timo Werner managing to find a net after a long period without. Next up we had Sheffield United versus Brighton. A lot of people were obviously backing Brighton here and not expecting a lot from Sheffield United. Not only were they able to keep Brighton out, but they also managed to get one themselves through McGoldrick, winning the fixture 1-0. This also saw Chris Wood get a hat-trick in the first half in this fixture. Next up we have Wolves versus Burnley. This saw a very strong attacking Burnley side continue their good form, with Wolves unable to answer with a 4-0 defeat, which also saw Chris Wood get a hat-trick in the first half. Then we had Leeds versus Man United. A game earlier in the season tipped with a lot of goals, but this time a 0-0. Leeds seem to have shored up their defence a lot more, and Man United unable to capitalise, maybe thinking of the Europa League a bit too much and not bringing on people like Cavani early enough in that fixture. Villa versus West Brom saw another strong performance from West Brom, nearly managing to win the game 2-1, but with a very late goal from Davis for Villa to square things up 2-2. Final game of the week saw Leicester versus Crystal Palace, who went in at half-time trailing to a Zaha goal for Crystal Palace, but only to bring it back with a Castagna goal and then an Iñárritu with an absolute screamer into the top of the net. So here's my team from Game Week 33. I got 54 points in total, which meant a green arrow for my team, with a rank rise of 17,332 places. I'm pretty pleased with that, considering that a lot of the points only came from 3, maybe about 4 players. So on the whole, a good result this week. The points breakdown came from Mendy getting a clean sheet, but unfortunately getting a yellow card, so it did mean -1, dropping him to 5 points. Trent's clean sheet unfortunately was wiped out in the dying seconds of stoppage time, which meant he only got a 2-point haul. 4 goals scored past Wolves meant that Cody managed 0 points. Bit of a shock result, and unfortunate. I think a lot of FPL managers were holding Wolves defenders based on a fixture like this. Bar 2 of the attackers, there weren't a lot of points to go around, only managing 2s and 1s across the rest of the squad. And also Alonso was in the starting lineup originally, but with a no-show, he was benched for Soufal to come on. Thankfully my team was saved this week by an early Salah goal, which by captaining him bumped him up to a double-figure haul. And also Iñárritu, still in great form, scoring a goal and getting an assist, got a standalone double-digits haul. Rudiger also picking up the clean sheet like Mendy, but getting some bonus points with it, meant he got 8 points. Between these 3 players and a clean sheet from Mendy, I think that's what carried my team through this week. But with an above-average point score and a still green arrow, I think it was pretty positive overall. If you like this video, please give it a like and hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell not to miss more content coming soon. So here's how my team currently lines up for Game Week 34. Across the squad for this game week, I'm pretty happy with the setup, and I've made some good changes since wildcarding a few weeks back, and also rolling a transfer to be able to put me into a good position for the fixtures coming up. This week again, I've got a few benching headaches to consider, especially with Manchester United versus Liverpool. It's going to be a tough fixture, and I'm holding 3 Liverpool players currently. Last week's transfer saw Kane leave for Vardy. Vardy was unable to capitalise in the previous fixture, but he's still got a good run of fixtures coming up. My initial intention was to potentially change Vardy back to Kane this game week, being that they have Sheffield United, but there's a few reasons why unfortunately I might not be able to do this move. Due to price increases, I am actually 0.1 out to bring Kane straight back in for Vardy in one transfer. But as you can see in the top banner, I do have 2 free transfers available. So this isn't to say that I can't do this move, it would just mean using both free transfers. I'm not completely against using that this week, and if I was to drop another player to free up the funds, it might be Alonso. Even though I do think that he may get a run out this week to give Chilwell a rest, I think that his inconsistency in starts compared to the other defenders and midfielders across the team, I think he makes sense the most to be able to drop down to another player who's getting more consistent starts and more points overall. There is a potential this game week that I don't make any transfers and go with the current team that I have. There are a few doubts around the team. As I already mentioned, Alonso potential not to play, but I do think that due to Champions League football for Chelsea and the Carabao Cup final, plus Premier League games and looking to get a top 4 finish, I think that Alonso might give Chilwell a rest in this fixture. Very similarly, Gundogan has a really good fixture against Crystal Palace this game week, but he has played in both the Champions League and that same Carabao Cup final. Although they'll want to wrap up the league, Man City, I do think that he might be handed a bit of a rest along with Kevin De Bruyne, as they have so much potential to pick from players, and people like Aguero have been missing out, and he's been sitting on the bench along with Jesus, so it might be a case of that they see 1 or 2 strikers being rotated, and they will have to obviously come in for one of those midfield players, and it could see Gundogan either get his minutes managed or be rotated and have a full rest. Even if those 2 didn't play, across the rest of the team, I've still got some good strong players. As previously mentioned with that Manchester United and Liverpool fixture, I do currently hold 3 Liverpool players, and they are capable of getting returns in this game, but we have seen a lot of Man United games against the Big Six recently end in 0-0s or 1-0 results. So it is a bit of doubt in terms of if they will get a return or if Alexander-Arnold will be able to hold his clean sheet. That being said, I'll probably look to still start Salah this week at least, and potentially bench the other 2 Liverpool players, as if Alonso and Gundogan don't play, they'll be rotated on from off the bench anyway. So unless I was to go for that Kane transfer to Vardy, and also then take out Alonso for another defender, this game week sees a bit of an unusual situation where I could potentially leave the transfer this week, but unfortunately I won't be able to roll over another transfer, so it will still remain only the 2 free transfers for next week. There's been a lot of discussion online through Twitter and other social media at the moment, stating that there may be a double game week next game week. Nothing has been confirmed or announced yet, but it's likely this may happen due to a lot of the fixtures looking to have some fans in stadiums, so a lot of fixtures are being moved to accommodate this. This not only gives a double game week in 35, but the potential then for a blank game week in 36. So this was my initial reason for rolling the 2 transfers, hence why I don't really want to use them in this game week if I can help it, and if I can get through, and hopefully Vardy will get returns against the Southampton and Kane won't sort of sting me too badly against the Sheffield United. With that in mind, there are some predictions floating around on the web about how that double game week may look and blank game week for game week 36. Until that's announced, obviously we're playing a bit of a guessing game, but if it does get announced before the deadline, I think it might be a situation where I could look to potentially build and change players, not really for this game week, as I'm pretty happy with the team as it stands, but look to bring in a player that has the potential to play a double game week in 35, but then also play in the game week 36 blank. As I have no more chips to navigate that blank game week, I think building towards players who have games in both 35 and 36 will be best for my team. So for instance, I know that Aston Villa will have another game to be scheduled later on this season at some point. So there's a potential for Alonso to make way for Target. He's not got the easiest fixture this week against Everton, but I've got other defenders that can take his place. So there's a few potential moves like that, and I focused on a few of those potential players that we could be bringing in that would target both that game week 35 double and game week 36 blank coming up. Obviously, just to mention that this hasn't yet been confirmed and there's no guarantee that these are the teams or this is what will happen through the schedule, but it's just something to bear in mind that if you're pretty happy with your team and you're looking to make moves, this might be something that you would be considering to build to, especially if you're like me, you're without any chips left for the next coming game weeks. So looking ahead with the potential for this double game week and blank game week to happen in 35 and 36, these are the teams that I believe have got the best players to focus on to cover for both of these game weeks. The teams in question would be Everton, Southampton, Aston Villa and Crystal Palace. These 4 teams not only play in the double game week, but they also have a game in the blank game week 36. So if you're looking at your squad and thinking that based on the predictions of some of these teams having doubles and then blanks in the game week 36, and you find that you haven't got a lot of players without any chips to be able to navigate that, say as a free hit, then these might be some players that you'd like to bring in as potential bench players for this week, have some strong fixtures going forward. So I've listed a few players within these teams that could have potential to get some good points. Some are currently in form, and some are currently based on just their attacking potential or defensive potential within the fixtures that they have coming up. I wouldn't say that a lot of these players are the sort of go-to form players at the moment, but just based on the fixtures and be able to carry through when other teams are blanking, I think it's a good shout to maybe get a few of these players within your squad. That being said, without having to navigate the doubles, a lot of the double game week fixtures that have been potentially predicted aren't that great in terms of having an easy fixture. But there are some teams that have a single game week and also play in the game week 36 that do have a good strong fixture and do have some current informed players that people would like to target. So here's a list of 4 teams that don't play in the double. Here's a list of 4 teams that don't have a double but still play in game week 35, but also play in game week 36 and have a good run of fixtures. So the 4 teams are West Ham, Spurs, Liverpool and Leeds. Again, I've listed a few players here, and a lot of these players are the more informed players, and people already have them in their team or look to get them in. Some of them are a bit of an injury doubt, but I've put on Antonio, Cresswell and Rafinha. These 3 players, I know that at the moment there's still a bit of a question mark on their return and if they'll be fit for these games. But if they are fit by that time, they're definitely players that people would look to get into their team. So based on their fixtures that they have going forward from now until the end of the season, if you have or want to bring anyone in this week, then you could potentially bring in some single game week players and hope that based on their good run of fixtures and the form that they're showing, that they outscore the double game week players. But if you are able to get some double game week players within your team in ready for that game week 35, if it does get announced late, then I think it's a good play to potentially build that squad with some double game week players, as we know they can get good point hauls across the 2 fixtures. If you'd like to keep up to date with the latest video posts, locked in team selections and chat during the game week, then you can follow me on Twitter at FPL Squad Picks. So for my starting 11 this week, it'll see Mendy in goal against a Fulham team that are struggling for goals at the moment, so I think that could be a potential for clean sheet. And his Chelsea teammates Alonso and Rudiger also make the lineup. I'm not sure about Alonso, as mentioned previously, but I'm hoping that he has a game, and if he does, he has a lot of attacking threat. If he doesn't get transferred out this week, I think I will start him and hope that he plays, and if he doesn't, I can't see him sort of getting on 10 minutes towards the end, so it might be that one of my bench come on for him. So bench setup this week I think will be pretty vital. I've also got Alexander-Arnold starting. It is against a Manchester United team that can score goals, but with his attacking threat, I think it makes sense to have him in there, just in case they can get a return against United. United have consistently gone behind to come back to win games, or at least let 1 or 2 goals in, but as mentioned, against the Big Six, it seems that a lot of 0-0 results have been happening, so if that does happen again, there could be a potential for a clean sheet, even if he doesn't get any attacking returns. I've got Cody starting at the moment, giving him another chance against West Brom, but saying that, West Brom have had a lot of good form recently, and have showed that they can score goals. So my other option on the bench would be potentially Sofal. With his attacking threat, I think that he shows that he potentially has a bit more of an upside to Cody, but with Burnley's 4-0 against Wolves in the last run, you can see that Burnley are playing a lot more attacking recently, so there's a potential that he might not be able to keep a clean sheet, but I think that he shows a bit more attacking threat than Cody. I think that will be a last minute decision, and they're quite an interchangeable pair. As mentioned again about the same Man United-Liverpool fixture, I think it makes sense with that much money wrapped up in Salah that he has a potential for penalties as well, that we play him. So I'm going to be starting Salah this week. I'm also going to be starting Gundogan. Again, I'm not expecting him to play, but if he does play in this fixture just to wrap up the league, then it could mean that he gets some good points against the Palace team that are struggling in the league. Even though he's played both the Carabao Cup final and the Champions League, Pep might want to wrap this game up just to make sure that he doesn't have to focus on the league too far if they do progress to the Champions League final. Lingard against Burnley I think is a really good start as well. Even if he did blank in the last game week, I think his form over the last few since he started for West Ham has been so good and consistent that it just makes sense to start him. Similarly with Son, very consistent. He's back to full fitness now, and against a Sheffield United team that are struggling, even though winning the last fixture, I think that Spurs could get a result here, and he could be the one that gets involved. This team is without transfers as of yet, so at the moment this season, Iñárritu and Vardy starting up top. This could potentially be switched to Kane if I decide to make the 2 transfers mentioned earlier in the video. But being that they're playing Southampton, and that they are leaking goals at the moment as well, and Leicester have shown some good fighting form, I think Vardy's very capable of still getting a good points haul, as well as Iñárritu, so doubling up at top there isn't the worst plan. I do also have Matej Vydra and Jota on the bench. A lot of the time, it makes sense to start an attacker over a defender, and I'm currently showing 4 defenders. So there is a case to potentially bring on one of these two, but as mentioned again previously with that Man United fixture, I'm not sure if Jota can get in amongst the action and get amongst the goals. And for Burnley, even though Vydra has shown some good attacking form recently, it showed in the last fixture that Wood was able to get a hat-trick and Vydra only had 1 goal disallowed through VAR. So in terms of the weight balance between the two, it seems like a lot of the action is going through Wood, so it may only be an assist or the 1 goal for Vydra, and I can't see him outscoring a lot of the other players that I have starting. Again, this is within the mindset that potentially Alonso and Gundogan don't play, so at least 2 of my bench players will be coming off to replace them. So I think the bench has a little bit of scope to rotate around in terms of starting 2nd place and 3rd. One other move that I didn't mention earlier potentially might be to take Forster out and upgrade him to someone like Sanchez or Martinez, who has some good runner fixtures going forward, with Martinez's shot-stopping ability as well. He's a really good pick, but wrapping up more money in an extra goalkeeper would sort of pull me away even further from making that Kane move if I did want him towards the end of the season, as Spurs fixtures are quite strong in the last 2 game weeks. For captaincy, at the moment I've got it on Son. Again, as mentioned previously, I think it's a really good fixture against Sheffield United, and he has good potential to be able to get in amongst the points. I can't really guarantee that Gundogan is going to play and start, or even have his minutes managed. I can't put the captaincy on Gundogan. I think Salah also had quite a tough fixture against Man United, and Burnley have shown that they still can be defensive, so again it's not a guarantee with Lingard. There's potential between the 2 up-front players of Iheanacho and Vardy to be captained as well, and Iheanacho has shown really good consistent form as of late, so it is a toss-up between the 2. And Vardy's been a bit hot and cold, so I think that the safest bet would be to put it on Son, but that's not to say that Iheanacho couldn't take his place. So at the moment I've got it captaincy for Son, Iheanacho as vice, but this may change before the deadline. Well, I hope that information has helped with your picks this week. As you probably couldn't tell, I'm still a bit undecided on my transfers this week and how to go. And I think it was worth mentioning those double and blank game week potential, and it's something to keep an eye on. So keep your eye on the fixtures, keep your eye on social media, and if they get announced, I think that can play a big part in people's transfers going forward and how they play their chips. Feel free to leave a comment below about who you think will be vital this week and going forward. If you feel I've missed anyone, put their name below to hear mine and other managers' thoughts. If you like this video, please give it a like and hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell not to miss more content coming soon. Thanks for watching.